Hey, so does just the thought of public speaking fill you with absolute terror? And I'm not talking about a little bit of nervousness or this fear of public speaking. I'm talking about utter panic and distress. So if that's something you experience, stick around because I really want to help you understand where this phobia, where those intense feelings come from, and then how to overcome this phobia of public speaking so that you can speak in front of other people, speak powerfully, speak comfortably, no matter what the situation, all right? So let's go. All right, so before we get into how to overcome this extreme fear, this phobia of public speaking, we really want to get into the underlying mechanics of why it's developed within you, okay? So this extreme fear of public speaking to the point, I want to clarify here because this is not just, a little bit of stuttering, your voice is shaking a little bit. I'm talking about your mind's going completely blank, your voice is shaking in absolute terror, and you feel like you're regressing basically into this young little child when it's time to public speak. And this is something I want to make very, very clear because I want to save you the heartache, okay? Because it was very clear to me that I had a very serious issue when I was working in my corporate job, and when it came time to public speak or to speak in front of people during my work meetings, my mind would go blank, my heart rate would go through the roof. As soon as they said, let's go around the room, give an update or introduce ourselves, that kind of situation, my heart would start beating out of his chest. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Even when I tried to speak, my mind would go blank, my voice would shake in complete terror, okay? So what did I do? Because I thought it was a stuttering problem or a public speaking problem, I started researching how to overcome stuttering. And then I went over to Toastmasters and I was trying to go extremely hard at trying to be a confident public speaker. And I was dealing with the symptom, okay? And I wasn't dealing with the root cause. And if you do that, it's gonna make things worse. And so do you see the distinction here? This is not a little bit of nervousness and maybe you stutter a little bit and then you can go fix that quickly with some public speaking practice. This is this fear of being embarrassed, humiliated, shamed, and your body's gone into this full-on fight or flight survival mode, and it's completely shutting down in that moment. That's what you're experiencing. That's why it feels so terrifying and absolutely just overwhelming. And so when I first started going to Toastmasters, they have this section in the meeting, it's called Table Topics, and essentially they put you on the spot to speak for a minute or two, or it's called impromptu speaking. And so I noticed, because this is one of the first ways I tried to fix this problem. So I would go to Toastmasters, they would put me on the spot to speak. I would literally last maybe 17 seconds. You're supposed to speak for 2 minutes. I would last 17 seconds, my mind would go blank, I would lose my train of thought. And then after that happened, I would hang my head in shame. I would look at the other people. It was absolutely humiliating. And that's really important because think about it, if that's your biggest fear, if your biggest fear is being humiliated and embarrassed, and you're forcing yourself into these external solutions of Toastmasters, or you're just giving yourself positive affirmation, whatever you're doing to force yourself into this, and then you get embarrassed again, you've just relived that trauma. You've just relived those moments again. And it's a really harsh way to deal with this type of issue. And so when I was going to Toastmasters, the emotions, the anxiety I would feel, the constant spikes of getting so much anxiety, so overwhelmed, hanging my head in shame, it was so exhausting. Like working on this issue from the outside with an outside solution like Toastmasters, it was absolutely draining. But then I started to catch on. I started to realize when people started going around the room, I had this kind of voice in my head, or this feeling like I was gonna get shamed, right? And I would kind of flashback and I get these memories of when I used to get shamed on the soccer field by my dad. So my dad would just scream at me. He would scream at me in front of the entire crowd, scream at me, calling me stupid, why did I mess up so bad, all of these things, why did I make a mistake? And I remember looking at the crowd just as a young kid, just looking at all these parents and people and spectators just looking at me, completely shamed and on the spot. Because that is what that fear of humiliation is about. It's about, in that moment, I remember feeling so shameful and abandoned and just I was completely terrified because it was just me, my own father screaming at me, and there's all these people looking at me. I'm completely helpless, alone, and there's nothing I can do about it, okay? And you can see how that translates into this moment when I'm getting put on the spot to speak. All of these old feelings from the past are just flooding through in the present moment because the fear is around feeling like that again. And this is what I caught on to. Fixing the internal core issue was far more effective than trying to fix it with these external things, because when I went back, you have to realize that there's the memory. So there's the memory of me getting shamed on the soccer field, but the feelings around it are abandonment, humiliation, shame, helplessness. Those are the feelings around the memory. And so, for example, it can help you understand it this way. Let's say you felt betrayed by a friend, and this friend, he betrayed you, maybe it's a year, 2 years ago, and whenever you think back to what happened, you get these feelings of just anger, which demonstrates there's two components, right? There's what happened, and how it made you feel. So what happened is your friend betrayed you, but how it made you feel was anger. And because if it's not resolved, that anger still comes up in the present moment whenever you think of that memory. And the same goes with the soccer field. So the current situation for me was in those work environments, having to speak in front of a group, in front of a crowd. But what it did is it triggered those old feelings, humiliation, abandonment, shame, helplessness, all coming and flooding me in the present moment. But once I found a way to go back and remove the trigger, essentially, the trigger is those old feelings, right? That's the trigger. That's why I'm getting triggered in the current moment. But once I was able to go back to the memory and reprocess and release those old feelings and release them permanently and heal them permanently, what that does is it takes away the trigger. So when I go into the present situation, I no longer get triggered and flooded with that survival mechanism. And that survival mechanism no longer blanks out my mind. It no longer makes my voice shake. It no longer makes my heart rate go up. And I can speak powerfully and be in the moment and be a strong contributing member of that team. And the same goes for when I went back to Toastmasters. Going back to Toastmasters, it was easy because whenever I would make a mistake, think about it, if the trigger is no longer there, if I'm no longer at risk for being humiliated and embarrassed internally, although not rationally, that's probably not likely going to happen, but if your body doesn't feel like that's a danger anymore, think of how much more open you're going to be to take risks, to speak up. And that's what happened in the Toastmasters. Whenever I would make a mistake, it was so much lighter. Making a mistake didn't result in me feeling so much shame and embarrassment. And that's when I was able to just take it less seriously, have way more fun, and just not take it so seriously, stay connected with everybody. When I made a mistake, I would laugh with them, they would laugh with me, and it became this just strong group environment. We were all connected and learning from each other and just feeding off of each other's energy. And that's what you really want in these group environments, in these speaking environments. And so if you want to learn more, what you can do is download your free ebook. I'm going to link it below the video. If you're on Instagram, it's in the bio. And it's going to show you the exact steps necessary to go back and heal those old feelings that I'm talking about, the humiliation, the rejection, so they stop bothering you in the present moment with whatever you're doing, speaking in front of people, one-on-one conversations, all of that kind of stuff. So you can go back, release those feelings so you're no longer at risk, and the ebook's gonna show you exactly how to do that. So I encourage you to download that, read it for free, and break free from this fear of speaking for good, okay? And if you need more support, join our Facebook group. I'm gonna link it below the video as well, and Instagram is in the bio. Join the Facebook group because there's a whole group dedicated to this social anxiety, and you can come in, build relationships, connect with everybody, and I'm in there as well, so you can ask me questions. And that way I can support you closer along your journey. You can share your story and just really start to heal and leave this whole, fear of speaking and the social anxiety, these anxiety attacks, leave them behind you for good. Okay, so I encourage you to join. I look forward to seeing you on the inside, and I will see you in the next video. All right, peace out.